In today's video tutorial, I am going to demonstrate how to create a really fun, festive, and simple cake for the new year. Okay, so here I have frosted a four-layer double barrel cake, and I used our fluffy vanilla buttercream recipe. And now I'm just going in and smoothing over this final coat of frosting. I like to do a crumb coat first, then go back over it with a thicker layer for the final coat. And I'm just getting it as smooth as I can with the bench scraper, and you'll just scrape the excess off. And the next step is going to be going in and creating a ridged pattern with just this small tapered spatula. So I'm just going to start at the bottom. And because we're doing this, that's why it's okay that our frosting wasn't completely smooth, because we're just going to be going right over it anyway. Every now and then I'll just scrape the excess away. So we'll make our way all the way up. Oops. And this just gives us some nice texture. Okay, so now that I've made my way all the way to the top with our ridges, I'm going to go in with my spatula. As you can see, the frosting has extended beyond the top edge of the cake, so now I can go in and clean things off just by removing the frosting as I spread towards the center of the cake. Let me do it this way. And if you want to, especially if your frosting has butter in it, you can pop it in the freezer for 5 minutes and let things firm up. Go over it with a hot spatula if there's any places that you feel like you want to smooth out just a little bit more. But I think it's looking good, and now we are going to move on to the decorating. Okay, for the front of the cake, we are going to have 2019, and the 0 is going to be this oval of gum paste, or you could use fondant. And this oval is about 3 inches, not quite 3 inches long, but it's up to you, however large you want to make your numbers, whatever works for the size of your cake. So I have some black fondant. We have just a little bit of Tylose kneaded in, just to firm it up a little bit more. And I'm just going to extrude it. The little disc that I have on this extruder is probably about 1/4 of an inch, don't you think? Okay, I might need to extrude some more, but we'll just go with what we have so far. I just need 3 numbers since we have our 0 already. And I'm just going to kind of have this nearby so I can compare the size. But we're just going to form our own numbers, and I'll just pinch it where I need to pinch so the number can take its shape. Okay, so there's a quick 2, and for the 1, I think I'm just going to do just a straight line just to make it easy. Okay, and for the 9, I decided to just extrude a little bit more so it could all be just one piece. So I'm just going to curl it around. And then where these 2 come together, I'll just give it a little squeeze. And just cut it off. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out my numbers with my Tappet cutter. And so this is what that looks like. And you'll just want a strip of fondant with some Tylose kneaded into it, or some gum paste. Roll it very thin, and then it's a good idea to let it start setting up. This feels really dry to me right now. I think it helps the numbers to release from the cutter if they've started to set up some. I'm just going to press down and kind of wiggle it back and forth to clean up the edges. And you see there's our number. Let's see if I can get it to come out. Oh, it worked. Okay, so there's our 3. If it doesn't work, you just take a toothpick and you just try to gently pry it out, just really slowly. It helps a lot for the gum paste or fondant to be rolled very, very thin. So I'm going to cut out, I've got 12, 3, 6, 6 and I need 9. And that's all there is to it. Okay. So I'm going to grab some piping gel and we'll meet right back. Okay, so as you can see, I decided to go ahead and wrap or attach our band of black fondant to the clock first before we add the numbers. And this is smaller. I changed the little disc I was using to this size. Okay, so that's the size opening that I used for this, where before I used this size, just to give you a quick little visual. Okay, so I'm just going to brush the outer edge of our oval with piping gel, and then I'm just going to let that black extruded piece rest on top of it. And that just kind of defines our clock, and it also, I think, makes it more obvious that this represents the 0. It just kind of goes along nicely with the other black numbers. Okay, I'll just cut this where the two come together. Okay, so I'm just going to use some piping gel and brush on a little gel where I want the numbers to stick. And so we'll have our 12 at the top, of course. Might brush. If you can brush the back of the number, that might be easier. But they're so tiny, it's kind of hard to hold on to them. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for the 6 and the 9, and we'll meet right back. Okay, so what I have here is I have attached with some piping gel, just 2 very thinly sliced pieces of our black gum paste, and that's going to be the clock hands. And I have to clean this up. I made a little mess there, but anyway, we want it to look like midnight, so I have the long hand is pretty much on top of the short hand. And I'm just going to attach, I have a gold dragé. We've had these forever. We don't use them very often, but we use them for little fun accents now and then. So whatever you have, you might have silver dragés, or you might just want to use a ball of gum paste or fondant. You don't have to have anything. Or you don't have to have anything at all. Okay, so I have very lightly dampened this paper towel with water, or you could use vodka, just to make the fondant a little bit tacky. And I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit of our pixie dust onto it, just to glitter it up. And this is an optional step, and it's one that you wouldn't want to do if you think anybody's going to try to eat the clock, but because ours is gum paste, that's not something that would taste good anyway. Okay, so now I'm attaching my numbers, and they've firmed up enough that I can pick them up and they don't fall apart. And so I've just piped a little buttercream on the back. My cake I chilled in the freezer for about 15 minutes before putting it on the pedestal, and the cake, as usual, is on its own cardboard cake circle cut down to size. But I like having it chilled, not only to move it over, but also because when we're messing with the numbers, we might need to readjust things, and it's just so much easier if the buttercream is firm. Okay, so I'm just going to put some buttercream on the back of our clock. I might let this be slightly higher. We kind of have to try to squeeze our numbers in because we're on such a narrow cake, with it only being a 6-inch. We don't want to make it too wide across the front. And just put it on Okay, so our cake is finished. As you can see, just as a final touch, I added a nice big red bow at the bottom, and then we also added some sprinkles, just sugar pearls, and then some red and black sprinkles to the top, just to add a little more color to the top. But I love how this came out, and I also love how simple it was to create. So hope you enjoyed it. Happy New Year.